Klaus and Matthias, a lot has happened since the last time you were here in Norway. You have changed label and also producer. Uh, Recently, it has been written a lot about the problems you had with the ex-producer Dieter Dierks. What were those problems about, really?
We've been working with this guy, Dieter Dierks, for more than 10 years, and due to a long-term contract, and for a band, it doesn't feel natural to work with just someone or just the same person over and over again, without having the chance, at least, to pick somebody else by like your own choice. And we had some very good times with him, but in the end, he just didn't want to let us try to work with someone else, which we always wanted to do. And he also kept us in the same studio in Germany, because he's not only the producer, he's studio owner and also publishing company owner, and also making the record deals. So too much power in the hands of one person, which is never healthy. And so we felt, especially since we are touring around the world for more than 10 years now, why should we, if it comes to recording the music, always go back to one studio in a village, in a very boring village in Germany? So we were just fed up a little bit. And especially the last album we've done, Savage Amusement, was no fun to record at all. He knew it's the last album. We knew we were trying to get it over with. And, he was trying to keep us in the studio as long as possible. That's why it took so long, because he knew it's his last album. And also we had a lot of problems on the business side. And so it was about time that this contract came to an end. Thank God.
He hasn't paid us any money for the last year, so I can imagine how we feel about this guy, and we're more than happy.
Pretty rough stuff, man.
Rough stuff, yeah, that's right. We're more than happy that a contract is over, and it feels like, out of the cage, out of prison. We're very, very happy that this situation is over, and as we said, we had some good years together with Dieter, but also a lot of problems in the end. And it's like a new chapter in the Book of Scorpions, And with this album, Crazy World, for the first time in many years, we had the luxury to choose producers, to choose studios in the world where you want to work, And so we went to Los Angeles, and Keith Olsen was producing this album together with us. And we spent some time last summer over there in LA, recording at Goodnight LA, Keith Olsen's studio, and went back to Europe to do the vocals and most of the lead guitars at the Whistle studio in Holland, in Hilversum. And it's a good balance between American and European feel, And so we had a lot of fun, and it's like the band played together in the studio. Dieter used to record every member in the band separately, so it was not so much of a band feeling in the end. And so this time the band feeling was back, and there was not that much analyzing, not beating a horse to death, like playing for more than a year the bloody same 9 songs. This time it was like, hey, let's have some fun, crank it up in the studio, and let's catch the magic of the moment, keep it fresh. And so we spent 3.5 months in the studio this time, and we couldn't believe, how fast this album was done. And in the middle, we played The Wall in Berlin, and Roger Waters, and we enjoyed it. We say, hey, let's go out on the road again and play. And I think when you listen to Crazy World, the fans can hear that it sounds more rough and fresh, compared to the last album. It was still, Savage Amusement was still a successful album, but we were not so happy how it came together, and we wasted a lot of time in the studio, because Dieter really, he wanted us to be there for months and months and months and months, and he was going for perfection, and he tried to turn us into studios musicians. This is a great live band, and so all the fun was gone. And with Keith, with new people, with new inspiration, fresh blood, and there was a lot of new motivation. Everybody wrote songs in the band, there was a lot of material, and we just discovered there's the fun in the studio again, you know. We felt like kids, you know, and that after so many years with this band, you know, it was like a total new story, and we enjoyed it tremendously.
You think Savage Amusement would have sounded very different if she had another producer?
100%, absolutely.
We're absolutely sure, because we've done demos for that album, and they sounded like, after all listening back, I just found like an old demo, like, I don't know, a year ago, so from the song Rhythm of Love. It sounded much better than the final product. So, yeah, but you know, that is history now, thank God, and we are off to like something better, I think. And you know, we've always been able to, even though there were some negative things, to turn them into positive things. Because if you want to look at the bright side, it is great that, you know, we've been doing this for so many years. This is our 13th album, and finally we can enjoy like basically standard stuff like every other band has when they start out, to pick the producer, to pick the studio more or less. And you know, all of a sudden we are all over the moon about it, because it's such a simple thing basically, but you know, we are really enthusiastic about it and happy. So we have that whole new motivation, the whole new good vibe, and so actually there's something positive about it as well, if you want to look at it this way.
And not so many bands coming out of Germany successfully on a worldwide level. There are a few, Accept was one of them, you know, and they were in the same situation with Dierks, and they didn't survive it, you know. So fortunately, Scorpions, we were strong enough to take it easy and then get the best out of it and get over with it, you know. So there was no choice, you know. We had to pay the price in many ways for the situation that Germany, we were like pioneers in many ways, you know. When we signed contracts, you know, we were not thinking about millions of records, you know. We were just happy, you know, to have some gigs at the weekend, you know. So it was a different story in the 70s, and it's not England, it's not America, and the business is not very professional. It's still not is. It's getting better, okay. But in the 70s, when we signed contracts, you know, there were no lawyers giving you the right advice in the music industry, you know. And there's still not very many people, you know. And the advice we could give young bands today is, before you write a song, let's get a lawyer, you know. Okay. Maybe sound sad, but that's reality. That's the way it is, you know.
You said Keith Olsen is your new producer. How did you?
He produced this new album with us. Doesn't mean he is a producer for the rest of our life now.
Okay. No contract.
No. Just for one album.
Why did you pick him?
We were actually starting out working with Bruce Fairbairn, because Bruce produced the song we did for the Make a Difference album. Everybody had to do a cover version. And so for this album, so we did the Who's song Can't Explain in Holland in the Whistle studio with him, and went fast, professional, and he's a great guy. And so we said, okay, let's do the next album together. So he helped us like picking the right songs. We were like in touch all the time, and but in the end we were ready to go. He wasn't, because he had some like hold-ups doing Poison, and so it just didn't fit in his schedule. We were ready to go, he wasn't. He would have been ready around September. Our album was already finished by then. So we said, okay, Bruce, you're a great guy, but you're not that great that we wait like 3-4 months for you. So we were just looking around for somebody else, and our management like just introduced a few guys to us, and one of them was Keith Olsen. He came to Hanover, to our own studio, and you know, he was the one who was into the music the most. We didn't care about the reputation of these producers. They all have a very good reputation, the ones we met. And so we said, okay, we need someone who is into the music and who is a person with a good personality who fits into the band's team. And he was just the right guy, so everybody said spontaneously, that's him. And also, he owns his own studio, and he said, okay, hey, you know, we can start next week if you want to.
Yeah, so we had to beat us up to go to Los Angeles.
Yeah, right. So we said, let's start next Monday, Los Angeles. We said, okay, you know, there we go. So, you know, no time delays. And especially after the last album, we really didn't want to waste any time, because that took so long. So we said, you know, it's not us, you know, it's not our fault that it took so long. We can prove that easily, because we go in the studio now, record it, and it's done. And that's what we did.
Another guy who's been helping you out now on this latest album is Jim Valens.
Yeah.
What has he done?
There was also Bruce Fairbairn recommended in the early stage of this album, that it's not a bad idea to hang out with some guys, giving the lyrics an update. For a German band who's writing English lyrics, you always check with American or English people, right? That's what I always did in the past, but never on a very professional level, because Dieter was a publisher. He never wanted me to write with anybody outside the band. So I had to deal with it over the years by myself and get some people involved, to check the language and stuff. That's what I did. But this time Fabian recommended, how about why don't you give Bruce Springsteen a call, or Henley, Don Henley, people like this, or Bob Dylan, and I went, come on, give me a break, That was a bit too far away from me. And but he was pretty serious about it, and I was pretty much surprised. But then when he recommended Jim Valens, and at the time I had no idea that Jimmy wrote most of the stuff for Bryan Adams, and he's a very professional songwriter. But just because of the fact he lives in Vancouver next door to Bruce, and I liked the idea, so Herman and me, we went over to Vancouver. Actually, it's a year ago. In January, we went to Vancouver and spent some weeks up there, and we just went through the lyrics, and some of the stuff we kept the way it was, some other we rewrote, and some other stuff we started from scratch. And, some new songs came up, just like Last So Love I did in Vancouver, and it was just a new situation. And we tried in general, after this situation with Dierks, we tried to be open-minded, whatever comes along the way, let's learn again and go on different ways and make some progress, and whatever is the right way, let's find out, not to be stuck in the same kind of formula. Everybody in the band wrote songs for the first time. Francis never wrote a song that I can remember, never. But this time he came up with some pretty good songs, and everybody in the band had music. And with Jimmy, we spent some weeks up there, and Fabian was involved in those early days, and he was jogging in the morning, came around the corner, hey guys, how you doing, you writing some great tunes, you have some great stuff, oh yeah, come on, let's listen to this. So it was, it was a very new situation. It was different from whatever we did before, and Jimmy became pretty much involved in this album, and he added something very special, I think, and it was for the better on the lyric side.
You said that all the members contribute more when it concerns songwriting now than before.
Yeah, it was not, the basic idea was not to go and involve some other songwriter to get some material, that was not the idea at all, because everybody was writing, we had more songs than ever. Yeah. More songs than ever. The basic idea really was to give the lyrics an update, like if I say something in English as a German guy, some people in America would phrase it differently, that was the bottom line. But then, it was fun to work with Jimmy, and something really good came out of it, so we enjoyed that.
After the Savage Amusement album, you spent about 2 years on the road. What about this time? Will you still be on the road?
We've been actually on the road just for a year and a little bit, for the Savage Amusement tour. We are fortunately popular all over the world, so that means a tour has to be at least a year, even though you keep it short. In most of the European countries at the moment, and we just about to finish that first European leg of the world tour, we played 15 countries. Norway's the 14th country. Then we go to Sweden, and then the tour is over. As far as Europe goes, for the moment, and that just means you have to play at least a year to get round once, even though you don't really play extensive tours in each country. We could play for 2 years easily, but then we would get out of the time frame making an album, doing tours, because people start complaining after 1 year, when's the new album coming out? And we say, excuse me, we are still on the road. So, you can't do everything at the same time.
We're still touring Malaysia,
Yeah.
Somewhere in the world.
So, that's, it's fortunate, but it's, it takes time, obviously, so a tour has to be at least a year for us.
Yeah, and I mean, so far this European tour was very successful. The album's doing very well, we're very happy about it. And after 3 more shows, we take a break, ship the equipment to the States, and then we start the US tour in February.
Before I quit, maybe I could have a couple of favorites from the last album. Personal favorites.
Well, personal
side
favorites.
A and side B.
That's right. I mean, Tease Me, Please Me, Don't Believe Her, Wind of Change, Send Me an
Just
Angel.
listen through the whole album.
Yeah.
Can't get
Take
enough
the whole
of that
thing.
rough stuff.
Yeah, get it rough, tough and rough stuff. Crank it up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.